In this lesson, I'm going to walk you through several different unique designs that we'll be creating together. So let's get right into it. I just finished sharing the design we created on the 12 by 24 inch canvas with the beautiful whimsical design with that focal point. Well, now we're going to take you through several additional designs on different size canvases. We're going to talk about designing I think on this one actually, a 16 by 20 inch canvas, we're going to create kind of like a field of flowers. And after we create this field of flowers, we'll decide if we want to add to it after it has dried. That's always something that I keep in mind as I do my paintings. Do I want to take it to the next step even further of what additional elements of design I want to bring to life to make this painting even that much more beautiful? So on this 16 by 20, we'll do kind of a field of beautiful grass blowing with maybe flowers at the end. We're also going to be working on a 20 by 20 inch canvas. And these are all gallery wrapped, beautiful canvases that they're sturdy and beautiful enough to even be in a gallery if you are ever in that mode of displaying in a gallery. And then I'm also going to take you through a round canvas. We're going to create a beautiful design, probably a split base on this beautiful 20 by 20 inch canvas. It's a round, and I love working on rounds, so we'll save that for another time. We'll keep that right there. But we're going to be working on today right now I should say, we're going to be working on this 16 by 20 inch. And I have one available that I've already prepped with my push pins in each of the corners to ensure that it's going to be very level on my canvas. So I'll set this one aside and replace it with this one. We're going to begin by laying down our base layer. It's the house interior paint. And we are going to be using the PPG brand for this particular pour, and it's a nice white, bright white, semi-gloss finish. So we will begin with that. I have my paper towels available for me. I always like to make sure that I have my paper towels on the side, getting ready for our pour. I have my spatula, and I have my design book. Today we are going to do kind of like this field of flowers on this design template right here. I'm going to go with this. There's no focal point in this design, but there definitely is a beautiful way of ensuring that you're going to draw it on the canvas. You leave enough negative space, but you also want to ensure that you're going to blow it out in a direction that's really pleasing on the canvas. So I'm going to keep this right to the side so I can use this as a reference only. But I really like to always have that on the side for me. I'm going to actually turn my canvas so that the long vertical is in this direction here, because I want my plant, so to speak, kind of go in the vertical direction versus horizontal. So it's easier for me as being the artist to ensure that my canvas is in the direction that I prefer when I'm laying out my design. Okay, I'm going to start out by laying down my base layer of white house interior paint. Feels like it's really far away from me. I can still reach it. Nice thick layer. And I usually cover the edges like that, do an X in the middle, and then circle it around a little bit, a couple of times. Typically use, for this size canvas, I'm using probably, that's a full cup and around a cup and a half for a 16 by 20 inch canvas size. So that's a fair amount of paint that I like to use on my canvas. If we need more, then we'll just go and get more. All right, I think that's pretty good. I'll lay that right like that. And then I am going to, I always have my tweezers. I see a couple of clumps that I want to get out. I also see some bubbles that I want to ensure that I take care of as well. I thought I saw a clump in there, but maybe it was just a bubble. If you do see a clump, you just grab it with your tweezers, and that way it doesn't dry in your paint. Now I'm going to take care of those little bubbles with my embossing gun real quick. I use that embossing gun to pop the initial bubbles, but then of course, as I mentioned earlier, I do take my little dotting tool. It's got a nice little bitty end to it where I can just stick it in those bubbles and pop them as I see fit. There are a few surfacing bubbles here and there that I definitely want to make sure that I do get. If you bounce the canvas, sometimes you can see more coming up, which kind of helps encourage them. I'd rather see them come up now than later. So bouncing your little canvas is a nice little trick to help them surface, because you have time to be able to draw your canvas or draw your design as well as blowing it out. So taking the time to pop those initial bubbles to me is super critical. So as soon as we get through with these, we should be good to go. You can also really scan carefully to make sure you don't see any clumps as well, which I think we're pretty good with how everything is looking. Now we're going to talk about one of my favorite parts of creating is the color choices. So we are going to start off with some violet purple. I have a phthalo blue, iridescent blue, an iridescent green. this is a lime green, and this is a yellow lime green. Those are my color choices. And while they're not the typical grassy field flower type colors, I want this pour to be bright and cheerful and to accentuate the idea of possibly having flowers in it. So like the purple is going to perhaps, if we want to add flowers, we're going to add probably some purple flowers mixed in at the very end after it's dried. So we have that option, and I just want to have that as an opportunity for us to seek and see if it'll work actually. So we'll start off with designing our field of flowers. I want each of my lines to be at different lengths. So I'll go about creating my design, and that will ensure that your variety of how you look at it with your negative space and your composition all is balanced and pleasing. So here we go. I want it to go over the edge. So I'm going to encourage the line to actually go over the edge. So I'm going to play around with this. Encouraging the line to go over the edge because I really like that look with this type of design, to actually go over. One there, and then with the next one, I think about right like that. This purple likes to drip a lot, so I'm being careful. All right. So I think that design looks good. All of my lines are at different lengths and it's filling the canvas, but yet it's still going to have that negative space that I really want. I'll add just a couple of my little branches to help encourage a little bit wider in certain areas. So I'll have a little branch going like that, maybe one going like this right here. Not on all of them, but maybe one there, one like that, and maybe one like that. So little branches going off. That's our design. I think it's gonna look really pretty. We'll go into this blue. I'm probably going to stay in those lines for this one a little bit more than usual because I know I want to keep the design the way it is pretty much. This is a really pretty blue. It's almost like that purple got lost, but it's still in there. I do see, if you see a little bubble as you're doing your pour, like bigger ones, you can pop them right away so you know you can get them. That came from the bottle itself. Now this is the iridescent blue. I think the colors are looking really pretty, guys. I hope you're enjoying this. I know I'm having so much fun. Get this lime green. This is really bright. I think it will be a nice addition. So I really like the brightness. And I want this painting to be really nice, bright and cheery. Real spring-like. And now I'm going to top it off with this. It's like a lime shocking green. It ends up by looking green for sure, but a lot of brightness. It's kind of metallic-y looking. There's a big bubble. I almost want to add a little bit of gold in here. And that would really bring in maybe a little sunshine. I just think the gold will add to it. And look at there, there's a little clump. You take that clump right out of there. You got it. It's a lot of paint, so hopefully it's not too much paint on this design. They'll be blending in together. Couple bubbles. All right. I think now we can begin by blowing out our pour. With this design, my intention is to have it blowing out this way, up into the canvas and throughout its branches. That it looks like branches. So I think that is the design we're going to go with, and then we'll come back and we'll be encouraging that botanical look within each of these little plants that are on my overall composition. So let me get my blow dryer and begin blowing. And keep in mind, you want to keep that mouth in the area that you want your paint to flow. So let's begin by doing this one right here. One thing I think that I am going to do right away that I'm seeing is I think I want to add, well, if I need to add a branch, because it seems so long and skinny here, I might need to add a branch to branch it off a little bit. We'll see how it turns out. See if I have enough paint. I may have enough. Yeah, I think I have enough. I'm trying to focus on the one stem first before getting into the other stem. Sometimes it overlaps. There's an overlap, which I wanted. Nice. I like when they overlap. All right, initially it looks really cool. I do see a little bit of a clump right here, I think. I want to get that out. There's just a little one. You can see that when you're blowing it. I think it's looking really pretty. It's time to play with this beauty with incorporating our botanical design to it. But with the color choices, she's bright, she's really fun looking. So I'm going to begin with this one. I'm going to begin with this little one because it's crossing over, and I want to ensure that it has that look of crossing over another plant. I think that look looks really cool looking. So I'm going to drag this piece, and I'm going to drag it right so it goes down like it's the stem, right over the edge of the painting. That's how I'm going to incorporate all of these stem-like images. And you can just play and be creative with this portion of it. But it just makes it look real plant-like. And the trick is, if you notice how I'm putting my paintbrush in the paint, in the layer of the house interior paint, I am putting it in that before I start dragging. So like right here, I'm going to put it in the base layer of my paint, and then I'm going to start dragging it through with a consistent motion and bring it all the way down. But my motion and the speed of which I drag my paintbrush is fairly slow and very consistent. It's not a jerky feeling, and it's not redoing the same line over and over, and it's not fast. Because if you do it too fast, you're going to pull up that paint from down underneath, and it'll take over the top layers of your paint. So it's the motion and the speed in which you drag your tool, whether it be a paintbrush or your finger. I really, really encourage trying the paintbrush. I feel like the consistency is a lot better, and you're not liable to go as fast as with your tool being your finger, so to speak. And I just lightly pick up to see that kind of a strand of the base paint. It's almost like stringy looking as you're pulling up, and you just let it fall gradually on its own. You don't rip it away. You don't pull fast. You do it so ever so gracefully and gradually. Just drag it and then start to lift as you get closer to where you want the end of that white paint to land. That's the trick. And then you can see that white line coming through as well when you do it like that. I think I want to blow out this area a little bit more to make it rounder, but we'll try to get this little white edge. See how I did that? Started to grab the other piece of it, but it still looks okay. I like to look at it and say, where could I see a leaf? I imagine where I'd be dragging my pen or the end of my paintbrush through the paint. I don't have to drag it all the way down. It's just, let's connect it to that nearest white line you've already created. There's a little bitty blue mark right there that I want to grab out of there. Just stick my paintbrush in there and grab it. See how easy that was? Grab it and pull through. You see a little leaf right here. It's all coming together, a nice leaf pattern. It's looking really pretty. I really like how it looks. This one I think I'll grab from right here. And if you see some really pretty markings in your painting that you've created using your blow dryer and how it's blending, I like to highlight those areas. I like to make sure that I don't drag my pen through it, but right next to it. And it really makes it stand out a lot prettier. Like right here. See how I dragged it? And that blue and that leaf looking element right there just made it kind of stand out. I like it. Down here, I'm just going to insinuate there's little leaves growing. These colors are so pretty. I really like them. I think I might blow this out a little bit more after I do this piece of it. I like how that is going over. It's like layering on top, so I don't want to mess that up. I want to keep that element of it. I'd like to get in right there. Drag it like this. Yeah, that turned out really pretty. That's a beautiful area right there. So I may blow that over afterwards. We'll have to see. I like to leave that to the very end to see if I really need it or not. I think it's turning out pretty cool. This one looks a little bit wonky, so I'm going to encourage right here that there's a bigger opening with dragging my paintbrush through it. So let's see if we can't encourage that to take place. Yeah, I think it's gonna look okay. It looks like this one's going over this one, so I'm going to leave that like that. This is really a cool one. I really like it. It's so different and unique. I've done a couple others kind of like this, and I did put like a butterfly on one of them. It came out so pretty. I had somebody else buy one of them that looked similar to this. It had a couple bees on it, so she bought that one. I guess she wants a couple more as well. She just told me the other day, so I'm happy about that. This one's going over a little bit, but I'm going to encourage that that's a leaf right like that. So I think it looks okay that it's going over. That one's going over there. I still feel like this whole painting has a lot of balance, and the composition looks really nice. Really like it. As you can tell, and from what I was sharing with you earlier, that having a good composition with your negative space and the elements within your design, when they have balance, this is a really good example of balance. You see negative space throughout, but it looks super complementary to the overall painting. It doesn't make your eyes just go, ooh, it makes your eyes go, wow, right? That's the intention. That looks like a leaf that's going up underneath this one, see? I think I might have to blow that out a little bit more. And I really like that blue area, that kind of a stripe going down the middle right here, and I didn't want to disturb that. So I put it right on the edge of that blue area, and it really just makes it stand out so much nicer. And I'm not going to even break that up. I really like how that looks, so I'm not going to break it up. It looks really pretty like that. This one here, I'm going to try to drag it from that white background through here. Looks pretty good. Going to encourage this one. Give it a little swiggle. See how I had not? That's a good example. See how I didn't have my paintbrush all the way cleaned off in my rag? There's paint that's dragged right there. You want to clean that up by dragging a little bit of that base right over it. There. It was actually a mistake, and now that it's cleaned up, it looks a lot better. So take this one. And there we go. I'm looking at this and everything's looking really, really pretty. The edges on this side, once it's dried, you'll be able to see how it's flowing over the edge on here. But overall, guys, I'm really pleased with you joining me in creating this design. It looks so pretty. I'm going to clean up my edges by taking my spatula once again. You likely will want to do this definitely 2 times, but sometimes 3 or 4 times during the process of ensuring that those drips are not going to pull your design that you've created to where it's distorted and unpleasing or not what you had intended originally. So I like to make sure that I clean up and I just drag it right up underneath that canvas. But there we go. I think we've created a beautiful painting here, and I can't wait till this one dries. And it may just stand alone just like this. If it stays just like this, I think we could just keep it like this and not have to do anything to it. It's absolutely beautiful. The colors, the composition, everything about it, I think turned out really gorgeous. So our next design that we will be doing together is going to be on a square, on a 20 by 20 inch square. And our design that we will be doing is going to be somewhat like maybe real whimsical, maybe something like this, whimsical looking. I'll see you in the next design.